Full body stretch out. Can you find a ball or I've got a lacrosse ball, so your tennis ball, a pickleball, it could even be a softball, a baseball. The softball, the size of the softball will make it a little bit harder to use, but so many people now have um, trigger point release gadgets. So a foam roller could work. So if you don't have a ball, you could get your little foam roller. We're going right down to the mat. And as I get you started in this, um, I will also share some other things that you might need to help you get through the workout. How did you get down on the floor? Did you go into downward dog and work yourself down? You see what I'm doing? I'm offsetting my stride, but it just dawned on me that this is what I always do. So I'm going to use my other leg today. It is such a weird feeling when if you're able to ever stop yourself right before you're getting ready to do something and switch out your pattern, it'll make you realize just how dominant you are in certain movements that you do multiple times a day. There it went again. Okay. So just there's a reason why your body gravitates to certain ranges of motion. And this may be too much information, but I especially notice it not only in class, but when I get out of the bathtub. Okay. You all know that, well, maybe you don't know. I love a bath. Come down. What do you think I missed the most in the last 2 weeks since I've been gone? The creature comfort of being able to be in a bathtub. Take your ball. What I want you to do is lift the hips, put the ball under one of your buns. Essentially, you'll know that it can't be too low or there's no contact, and yet keep it off the center line. You don't want it on the spine. So just let yourself settle in a little bit. You're going to do a little bit of this gliding from side to side. And maybe what you'll come to realize is as your hips are swishing from side to side, that the ball is actually like traveling kind of down the hip line. Um, be prepared to just every so many swishes, like reset your body so that you really are in the right spot. Right or wrong spot. How do you determine if you're actually treating the right or wrong spot? It's all based on sensation. So many people are really tight through the glutes, the glute medius, the piriformis, that when your hips swish to the side and that ball like really penetrates the muscle. I'm going to just keep making little adjustments, right? You have to decide, like, the intensity of it is what dictates right or wrong. So now, if you've swished your hips, your legs should be a little bit cockeyed. That's where I am in a swish. So I'm just in static state swish. If you want to join me for these little glides, you're going to take your leg, let that knee float towards the floor, just kind of opens you up. Oh, it might be too intense. If it's too intense, back out of it by putting your body in a slightly different spot. And you're going to let the leg drag down and up. Oh. So got home on Friday and played pickleball on Saturday, which with the cooler weather, oh my goodness, it was just fabulous. It wasn't sunny, and it initially felt cold, so I was like layered up. You're just doing this little glides, okay? And in a moment, we're going to switch sides. You don't even have to glide. You could just leave your leg out. You could go back to putting your knee up and keeping with your slides from side to side. So if you are with the leg in the glide mode, I want you to go ahead and reestablish its up position. Lift the hips, take the ball out, set the hips back down, gently draw your knees to your chest. As you're drawing your knees to your chest, let your body have a little bit of this rock from side to side. And I want to draw your attention to what your neck and your shoulders may be doing. Okay. So stop in the middle, pick up your head, adjust your neck so that you're squared. Sometimes we get our head and our body kind of a little cocked because you might be trying to look at the screen, right, and mimic what I'm doing, and then you're kind of crooked. So just reestablish yourself to neutral. Your legs are still doing a little bit of rocking from side to side. This is just a gentle position for your body. It's a relaxing thing. If your ankles want to crisscross, let that happen. If it's just the toes that cross, there's no wrong here right now. And now release. Leg number 2. Here we go. Bridge the hips from your centered up position. Squeeze right, belly to spine, buns tight. Keep the ball off of the center of the body, and you're just swishing from side to side. So as I was at pickleball, there I was late. Like I intentionally went late trying to avoid the crowd, and it didn't matter. There were still so many people out there that I probably had to wait, 15 or 20 minutes, which is ideal. I never get frustrated with that because it allows me to do all of my priming so that when I get on the court, I'm ready to go. And what do you think happened while I was doing my priming, right? So I go onto the tennis courts, which are right there next to the pickleball courts, because there's generally no one on the tennis courts. and and I start doing my like dynamic stuff and my scorpion and like all of this different stuff that is you're gonna get your hips swished. If your ball has moved towards the center, you know that you're in the wrong swish position. Glide the hips the other way. You want the ball to be treating kind of the outer hip, right? And then if you're inclined and you want to do your little leg glides, just let that knee float towards the floor. The intensity might really pick up right there with that leg floating out. So it might be too much, right? But we're going to do about 5 or 6 of these. As your body is like getting this sensory thing that's happening and it's kind of intense in that hip, it, the rest of you might be tensing up as well as kind of bracing for the discomfort. So if that's you, try to release the abs. You don't have to hold tension in your belly. Try to get your shoulders opened up. Reevaluate where your head is. Are you looking back behind you? Like you just have to keep processing for your system and resetting your good body line. Okay, I'm going to do 2 more leg glides. So there were some women who, when I got up from doing what it was that I was doing and came out of the tennis court to then be ready to play pickleball, a couple of women engaged me and they're like, "What are you doing?" Release, bring everything back to square, lift the hips to get the ball out, set the hips back down. You got it. We're repeating exactly what we did from leg number 1. I'm going to go ahead and pick up my head, roll my shoulders up just to get my spine back to its lengthened position, and then everything glides back down to the floor. As you're holding your chin kind of towards your chest, try not to let the shoulders close in, right? You want to expand across the front body and do your little either stir the pot or you're rocking from side to side. So you decide. I'm going to go into circles this time. But they asked what I was doing, and I just told them it was a series of things that I consider Michelle's methods. And oh, by the way, I teach a class on this very thing on Tuesday morning, and I showed them where. And release and relax, roll to one side, sit yourself up. So I was pleasantly surprised to be able to share a little bit of information and then, get on the court and play relatively good pickleball, but to actually have some interest from people that really seemed like, oh, they could use that too. Hopefully in this little side sit, you feel like your body is kind of trying to do it right for you. Are you hung up anywhere? How about this front crease line of the hip? Right? Maybe you've got to straighten out that back leg. Use your hands, grab hold of wherever you can get hold of to help you sit up. And we're just going to hold for a moment. In this position, your shoulder blades, right? So your depressors and retractors and cervical spine, they're all in play here, just holding you up. If you're cramping right here, then just lay it down for a moment. Let the body relax and then pull yourself back up. This is kind of this torque. And Renee, I don't know that this is a good one for you, but we're moving on. Okay. Float it to the other side. So I've mentioned this before, and very, I was going to say, seldom would you have two parts that have the same issue. So when we go and we do something that may not be good for one of your parts, let the other part try to mimic what you can do. So I'm demonstrating, right? If you couldn't fold this leg in because of the torque is wrong, you've got one leg that you probably can do that on. So make sure that you get your body doing as much as possible. And injuries, grab and pull up. Injuries are something that helps guide your body into, and you and your practice into, a better awareness and care for you. So like I don't consider injuries as setbacks. I consider them part of our learning curve for going forward, how we really needed to be treating our body to begin with, but we weren't. So just pause. And not only that, most injuries are recoverable from. So it may be a temporary label that you've got a glitch that you're working to relieve. It's a temporary thing, right? And now release, bring the legs out in front. We are going to get into the next trigger point, and it's going to be with your foam roller. So set your ball off to the side. In the event you do not have a foam roller, it doesn't have to be the 3 foot long. And look, my foam roller today is not black, it's blue. This blue one is a really soft, dense foam. So for any of you that foam roll, that find that it's really painful, you are not using the right foam roller for what your fascia needs. That's something to think about. Okay, so we're going back. We're going to treat our upper back. Lay back on it. Even if you're like, oh, I don't actually really feel like doing that, then just put your neck on the foam roller. Move your hair, like get everything positioned. We're going to all start here just to show you that this is super beneficial. So get your body squared up. You're opened up from right to left shoulder. The foam is right under the neck, and you're going to gently turn your head from side to side. This is something that I will do at the end of the night while I'm watching TV, because I've mentioned it before that I do extensive foam rolling, not every night, and certainly I didn't do it for the last 2 weeks because I've been on the boat. But this is a really great way to relax your body. And so I want to show you that you've got these tight little muscles that run up, right, the side of the neck. And as you go from side to side, you may be hitting them. And my foam is too soft for me to actually really get a good sensation from it. But ordinarily, when I use my black foam, and the foam that's got nubbies on it, if you get to a spot, leave your head turned in that direction. If you're able to find a spot that you feel needs some treatment, and you will rock your head chin towards clavicle and then float the chin away. Okay, so you've got a lot of how do we say? Um, I'm losing the word. We have a huge amount of sensory through the head, right? And that's why it feels so good when you go in and get your hair done, right? And you get the little scalp massage. Now, I'm if this is as far as you want to go, then you just keep turning your head from side to side and do the up and the down. Okay. If you want to go into the thoracic, which is the next part of your upper back, then join me. So you're going to have to sit up and start again and put the foam kind of up in to prop you up, wrap your hands around your head. Your elbows do not have to be splayed open. You can draw them in if your shoulders are acting up. Lift the hips. Start moving your feet forward and walk the foam to the upper shoulders. Now, belly to spine. Push your body back. As you push back, be prepared to walk your feet back because we want to make sure that our feet are pretty much under our knees. This is what I see a lot. If you'll take a moment and just look at the screen. I see people do this a lot where they try not to move their feet and as the foam, like look how high my hips are bridging. And then they'll crank their chin and do this. This is not how you do the foam roller. We want to keep our feet moving with the body, and you want your hips practically grazing the floor and in pelvic tilt. And as you push back, you're moving your feet to go with you, and that foam is going to go just under the shoulder blades. Now, with me being on this soft foam, I can keep walking and I can take this foam all the way down to my lumbar, but it doesn't actually really feel good. So I don't need to go beyond that, your wing, your lat, okay? If you find a particularly hot spot, then you can do this little like rock. Just make sure that your hips aren't thrusting up and your head like hitting the floor or you cranking your chin to your chest. Like get the hips low, pelvic tilt. If your arms allow you to have elbows in span, do so. Your chin, your neck is in a guarded position and you're almost done. Okay. So again, because my foam is really soft, I didn't get much out of it, but I wanted to show you a different foam today. See this spot right here? This big part of your shoulder? You're going to do that now. So get onto one side. Okay. This, for most people, is super uncomfortable. Your hips are up, you're slightly cocked because that's what's going to allow you to dig into your lat. Your head is heavy. What do? You don't support it with the bottom arm because this is the arm we're trying to treat. So we don't want to create extra tension on it. Leave that arm out, wrap your other hand around your head, and you're going to find the hot spot. For some of you, you'll barely be able to lean into it. Why is this important? This lat area, okay? Tight. The tightness of it is what restricts some of our shoulder function. So when you've got shoulder pain, often it's being triggered by a connection through the lat or the pec. Okay, now push back, touch down, sit yourself up, sweep it around to the other side. We are not going to spend an hour foam rolling. This is what we're going to finish with. And if you have never rolled your lat, okay, might I suggest you start? I want you to think about this. The more you're like tight through the neck and shoulders, it closes all of this in. If we can like lengthen and free up the lat, it allows you to actually work your arm. We're not even getting into the tricep today. That's a whole nother thing. I mean, I could spend 2 hours in instruction on the foam. I mean, hours of instruction just to try to get your body rolled out. But most people don't have the, most people are so tight that they literally can't stand it, right? They haven't started with the right foam roller for what their ability is. Okay, so here we go. Your hips are up, you're slightly cocked to the side, your top hand is supporting the head, the bottom arm is pulled open. That's part of the challenge. We don't want it resting on the foam. Like, how if we were trying to put your body in a straight line, it's just you can't roll like this. Although think about hand to hip, right? How do you stay in a straight line? We can't, but that's what you're trying to do. You want to pull the arm back while you're rolling, and the thumb is up or palm up. All right. Your head is supported, so there's no tension there. How deep can you go? How deep do you need to go? You could go all the way down the lat again, but really the trigger spot is right up and it will be so isolated, like you'll know when you hit it. If you're using one of those, this is about 5 more seconds, okay? If you happen to be using a foam that has nubs on it, look out, because that's super intense. Release and relax. Release and relax. What I love about foam rolling and stretching and all of these components is while you were doing a treatment for a particular part of your body, think about all the other muscles that were at work. So just to hold your body up into bridge mode, your hamstrings already got activated, your abs, believe it or not, were working as you were drawing yourself forward and back. I mean, there's such a coordination of actions that have to kick off in order for you to do foam rolling. And that's what I find most people, there's a lack of coordination within their body to do some of this. And so they kind of talk themselves out of it. Like, what good can it really do anyway? And like I've mentioned before, you're done with your foam roller. We're going to get up. How are you going to get up? What is your body inclined to do to get up? Do it the other way this time, right? Okay. You don't have to get off the floor like that. Maybe you went into downward dog. So I realize we don't always pull the foam rolling into the equation. And, but I personally do my foam rolling. I would love to encourage you to do a little more foam rolling. Grab your chair. I'm going to do from one end, I'm going to demonstrate with the chair. And from the other end, I'll demonstrate with the ball. Okay. So I want everybody to start with the chair and nothing new. You're working from downward dog. Spread the feet. Press in, whether it's your coffee table, your chair, your ottoman, whatever you're using. And if you don't have that and you're just using a wall, in yoga class, you would be on a wall. And so the wall would just change your angle. See, if I was using a wall, my hands would be here. I'd be fully extended arms, my hips pushing, right? So the chair just provides a slightly lower position that allows us to be in a cleaner downward dog. On the wall, you're in more of a 90-degree angle. Okay. So keeping in line with stretching the lat and the tricep, right, is why we've just come into this one. Reach opposite hand to foot, switch sides. So when you reach down opposite hand to foot, do the hips want to pull to one side? Switch sides. That would be a really common and not a bad thing. Like, if you allow your body to go there, you will feel a deeper stretch. So don't think that I'm suggesting that that's wrong, but
Does your body automatically pull to the side, or are you able to keep your hips through the center? Keeping your hips centered, we're just alternating side to side. If you can keep your hips centered, it will be a different stretch than if your hips slide. Okay, so we are going to do some of the slides in a moment. And when we do the slides with the hips intentionally gliding from side to side, we're going to stretch our legs a little bit further apart. So now just hold this one here for me. The hand that's on the chair, what if that shoulder is starting to talk to you? Then you might have to put your hand as wide as your object will let you go. Okay, switch sides last time. So if your hand is in the middle of your chair and you reach for the foot, if that shoulder up there is biting, then that just means you've got a little impingement going on. So move the hand a little wider. All right, pull yourself in, walk it up. Okay, phase two. If you have a ball, you're going to set yourself up exactly the same as far as what your arms are doing, and the feet get to go wider. If you're setting up on the chair, your feet are going to be wider than your mat. So wide feet. The ball, the great thing about the ball is that you get to push the ball and you can make your stretch more or less just based on how comfortable you are. And the same thing can happen for the chair. So start letting your hips slide side to side. As the hip slides, one leg fully commits to being bent and the other leg straight. And push. Now, look at your feet. As your leg bends, don't let the foot like swivel out. Keep a real good tracking of knee and toe, right? The weight of your foot should be like nice and even. And here's where we're going to hold the stretch for a moment. Reach opposite hand for the foot on the bent leg. The hand that's on your chair or your ball, if it's too intense in the shoulder, you can take that ball wider, or you can just soften the arm. If you soften the arm, you're losing some of that stretch through the lat and the tricep. Come up. All right. But since our leg is now intentionally being bent, right, you might have lost focus that this is still part of your upper body lengthening, because now the intensity of the stretch should be in the leg. Okay. So here we go. Take it to the other side. One more time each side. Slide the hips. If your knee wants to collapse towards the inside, then instead of reaching that hand for the foot, I want you to put it on the knee, and I want you to help press the knee open and guide the leg to its proper aligned position. Come up. It feels good to do that, even if you find that your knee isn't compensating, just to give it a little extra push out. Right? What I hope is happening, since you may or may not have a mirror, is this feeling of a flat back. So I just caught a glimpse of myself, and it looks like from the back of my head to the back of my hip line, my spine is nice and flat. If I were here, that would mean that this middle part of my body hasn't gone through its extension. We want to extend the body. That's really hard to teach ourselves to do. Come back to center, walk the ball in, or move your feet towards your chair. Either way, you're coming up. And now you're going to sit on your ball or your chair. Okay, I'll do a little bit of both. Woo! Forgot to tell Alexa to turn the temperature down. Should have opened my window. I'm heating up. So what you can't do on your chair are your circles, okay? But what you can do on your chair is to go right into your marching feet. Okay, so if you're on your ball, stay with me for a few circles in each direction. If you're sitting on your chair, just go right into your marching feet. Here we go. Making noise. Stir the pot.
belly to spine, feet squared, feet about hip width apart, and reverse your circle. If you are doing your chair marching feet, all you can kind of focus on is making sure that your feet and knees are tracking about shoulder width apart, right? You got about 5 more of these, 4. I hope that you're feeling like your body is heating up a little bit too. We want circulatory. What do we know? Release and relax. Okay. So now we are also going to go into marching feet on the ball. And the mirror is really useful. So I'm intentionally demonstrating like this really bad form because sometimes when we pick up the foot, like the hip, the rest of the body, it's like a chain reaction where everything just kind of gets slack and not clean. So whether you're on your chair or your ball, I want you to feel like um, your movement has some precision to it, right? Push, pull, and now faster feet. So you just go as fast as you want, belly to spine, push, pull, push. What do I mean? What is like I'm saying words, push, pull. What does that mean to you? When I say push, pull, can you identify where's your push supposed to be? I'll give you a moment to think about that, either on the chair or the ball. If all your so now stop. I'm going to switch to the chair. You don't have to though. If all you're thinking about now that I've planted the seed, okay? If you're just thinking about getting your foot up, you are only doing the pull. The push is the down leg. So the yin and the yang of movement is half of your body is doing one action while the other half on the opposite side, the back body muscles are doing the other work to establish tension. Now, do 5 more with that thought. Slow it down, pull. See, when you pull, your body kind of wants to go, oh, but then when you command yourself push, everything has a reaction switch. Pull up, let yourself go into like squirrely, unchecked position, and then add the push down as if you were getting ready to stand up out of your chair, and everything about your form will now be engaged to maximum activation. Switch, push, push, pull. Abs are still working, and the hamstring and the glute. Push, pull. Shoulder blades, exactly what we want. Push, pull. How is this part of our full body like stretch out, release, and relax? If you're sitting on your ball, go to your chair. We're getting into our figure 4. Now, what happens with the leg when we bring it up like this, specifically the knee? Torque. Remember, let's go back to generally we don't have both legs that can't do the same movement. So if torque is something that's not supposed to be in your equation, then you're going to close the stretch and hug in, and you're still going to get a very significant stretch, just in a slightly different part. If you can get into figure 4, then this is where we are, right? And what's the down knee? This is a really common thing here. Look at my foundation. My body in this position, if you're looking down and you're like, oh, my leg's kind of angled too, that is your body seeking the path of least resistance. This creates more structure, which changes the stretch line. So structure is good right now, okay? Even if you're in your crossed leg pull, what if your knee just did that, right? It's seeking the path of least resistance. You have more control than you might think you do. Sometimes it's just being unaware of how to recognize where the fault lines are. Switch. All right. So if you never think about it, right, and your knees are all collapsing and your spine's in C curve and you're like, "Yeah, I feel it though." Like you can do it wrong and still feel it, and I think that that's sometimes why things don't actually get cleaned up because I'm all wrong, and yet I can still feel a little bit of the stretch, right? But as soon as I go into checking my form, S curve spine, the neck pulled back where it's supposed to be, and using the weight of my trunk, right, into figure four, it's so much more of a stretch. It like instead of just hitting a smidgen of the part of the muscle, you now are stretching a much larger mass. A few more seconds. Release and relax. Go back to leg number one. How about, since we are going to be working with our feet for a moment, let yourself get comfortable. Take all the pressure off of what your back is supposed to be doing. Just allow yourself to have a little bit of support. Bring the leg back up. Again, minding the torque, right? Thread your fingers between your toes. Oh, it's too funny. So since we've been home, I have not unloaded the boat yet. Still, like literally all of my clothes. It was funny because when I packed for the trip, you can sit back. I'm going to scoot myself forward because it just feels, I feel like my chair seat is too long. So it feels better for me to be perched on the front edge. Okay. And now, if you need to hold your knee to support it, it's just going to look a little weird because you're taking the pressure off by pulling the knee up to you. If you can maintain a little degree of your figure four and get kind of multiple stretch lines happening, you are trying to crank your toes and swivel the ankle around. Okay. And you might even be getting some little adjustments through the ankle down there, right? Pull and push, pull and push. Maybe your little toes have snapped, crackled, and popped because you're putting some tension down there as well. Reverse your circle if you can. So I realized when I packed, it was only once we were on the boat and then I got myself ready for the first class, is I took two pairs of tights and like one shirt. Release and relax. So this morning when I got ready for class, I just opened up my drawer. I was like, oh, here's all my exercise clothes, release and relax, other side. So that was kind of a treat to come back in and realize that I didn't actually need to pull all my stuff off the boat because the clothes that I need, I left them at home. Thread those fingers. You're not only threading the fingers, this is why I'm like getting closer to my toes. I'm actually taking each toe and I'm pulling on it so that my fingers can actually get deeper between the toe. And that's super significant in the stretch. Okay, so now once it's settled in, take yourself out of your C curve, and unless, I don't know that you're going to be able to have an S curve if you're holding your knee like this. But if you are in figure four, then you most definitely can have a lifted trunk and just push and pull and crank. And I've shared with you before that this floating forward and pulling back, my body, all of my body wants to participate in this. So I don't just need to keep it here where I'm just moving my ankle. Like it all wants to help. Reverse circle, push and pull, push and pull. Now, release and relax. Good. On your feet. You may need your stick or your foam. The chair, I'll show you. I'll give you options, okay? So if you had your chair, since you have no idea what I'm going into, we're getting ready to do one of our stepping moves, okay? And with the stepping move, the trailing foot is going to be rolling onto the top of the foot to get some extra stretch. And I need to switch feet because it matters. It matters which side your chair is on. The chair for me doesn't really work because I have so much stride length that I'm only gonna, here's how you're going. I'm gonna stop talking and just show. The back foot rolls to the top of the toe. The arm that goes with that leg sweeps up and hinges so that this whole line is your stretch. Okay. And then the arm comes down, you step back. So where does the balance come into play? The balance comes into play when you step forward, swing the arm, roll the foot, take your gaze up and hinge the arm. That's where you're probably going to find yourself the most wobbly. So either put yourself next to a wall or figure out where do you put your body in relation to your chair so that when you take this big long stride and the legs soften and you push into the foot, that you're not losing your balance. Okay. So I just worked into a nice rhythm for myself. Okay. So step and go. If you do not add the chair into your equation, that's fine. You're just going to find like you're kind of moving in slow motion because you will hit a spot that makes you just like lose your balance. So now I'm going to do a little bit more dynamic. I've used the word twice already this morning, dynamic. Okay. This is considered a dynamic stretch because there's a lot happening. There's kind of an explosive action to it. Okay. This, Peggy, okay, how would this be good for pickleball? It is. Think about that. It's forward, back, swing. Like this is a dynamic flexibility, release and relax and switch sides. I sent, maybe I don't know if I put it in our Zoom class, but I'm turning around. In the email, I eluded, and it might just be for my Tuesday morning class that's live. I don't know if I put it in this email, but right, start rocking. You're using the other arm. The trailing leg goes with that arm. Sweep up, stay in slow motion, hinge, and release. You go to whatever speed that allows you to complete your action. And can I say right here, have you given any thought to tightening your bun and pulling your abs in? Because that is the end action. Now that I've gotten that into the equation, try to do that because it's going to make you pause. And if you're not holding on to something, that pause may be what throws you out of balance. Okay. If your elbow isn't coming up and the arm is bending, you're just not doing your stretch to its full potential, right? So you want that elbow to pull up. The head, if you're looking straight ahead, you're like, what's the big deal? Take the chin, point it up to the ceiling, and then you'll see what the big deal is. You might immediately fall out of your step. All right, pull. So something that I do is I take my other arm. I know you're focusing on you and not my movement, but if you don't want to use your chair, take your other arm and put it out and put tension on it, and that will help you in that stop zone to actually have a little bit more control. All right, 5 more. Here we go. Pull, 5. Wait till we alternate this. 4, belly to spine. Exhale, 3. Exhale, 2. Get ready. Exhale. Can you alternate this pattern? Oh, Lord. How do you do that? Switch legs, right? Switch arms. Step back. You can't travel beyond. Now you have to stop. Opposite arm to leg. Go into the forward stride. pull up, roll the foot, step back to a clean stop, switch sides, step, roll. The other arm really has to be in play here. Opposite arm to leg, step, roll, belly to spine. Here we go. Pull, step back, pull, step back. Last one, pull. Roll up to the tiptoe, roll to the front of the toes, press into it, squeeze your buns, chin up, get everything lifted up, buns and abs, step back and release and relax. Whew. All right. I know I had started on a story, but it got kind of, the movement got a little bit complicated. There is some question about you're moving your chair, when to do static stretching, when to do ballistic stretching. Oof, ballistic, that's a word. That's a word that should make you go, do I even want to do ballistic stretching? Ballistic stretching is like this. Don't do this, but I'm just going to show you. Ballistic stretching would be like you initiate a stretch. It could be from any stretch position. And you like ballistic stretching is this. Essentially, it's a bounce thing. And back in the day, we're going into a little shoulder training, strengthening, stretching, strengthening. We're kind of just working it in. This is something that I gave you last week. Extend the arms, turn them, right? Float them back. Where do they get to? Can you grab your elbows, pull the shoulders back? You're going to release the arms and just keep doing that. Turn the palms up, turn the palms down, glide them back. Push the shoulders away like there's something tugging on your arm because we're trying to get that shoulder opened up from the body, from the trunk. So think about your limbs lengthening away from the trunk and then floating back. We did this one on Thursday. Stretch, turn the palms up, glide the shoulders down. If someone could literally be standing on each side of you, playing tug of war with your arms and then lowering them with you, you would feel your body go. It would be so appreciative of that extra space up there. The same way we try to get when we do some of our hip stuff, stretch the arms. But if you never think about lengthening from right to left side, you don't know what you're missing out on. Glide it down, push it away, tuck them back. Okay. When do we do static stretching? When do we do dynamic stretching? And when do we do ballistic stretching? Which one is better? Push, reach, reach. This is your last one. Fold it back. If you're getting ready to go, say, take a run, get on the pickleball court, play tennis, I don't know, play basketball, whatever it is that your sport is, release and relax. You would not do something like this. Hopefully you followed along with me. What are we doing? This is a posterior delt stretch. Okay. It's so much more than just pulling your arm across, and I'm going to now break it down for you. If you could lengthen your arm away from your trunk, and then like someone is pulling on your arm, bringing it forward, right? You clearing your chest, and now your other arm, go elbow to elbow and pull. This shoulder should not be riding up to your chin. So now would be to go stand in front of a mirror, because you're going to look at yourself, pull your shoulder down while this other arm stays in tension mode. And that should give you a really nice stretch through this connection here, okay? But keep holding, because that's static stretching. If all you did was cross your arm over and now you feel like you're pinching up, you didn't get the elongated action first, right? And so you're kind of jipping yourself and you're crimping in an area. I like to keep my stretching arm straight, but You could bend it, right? Pull it over. Like there's in yoga, there's this, wrapped intertwined arm. This is a harder stretch to do than this. So if this is not enough for you, you're going to look at your palms and you're going to take the arm that's getting the stretch and you're going to pull it back, and then you're going to turn your hands to meet. Right? So this is static hold. You don't do static hold stretches prior to activities where the muscle needs to be reactionary. Let that set in. Release and relax. Release and relax. With static hold stretching, it's lengthening the muscle, but that puts you at a compromised position if what you need your muscles to do is flex. That's how it's decided what type of flexibility training or do you do prior to. So post exercise is static hold stretching. I just had my arm out there like someone's playing tug of war, keeping tension on it and bringing it around, settling my shoulder, going elbow to elbow and pulling. So many people cannot wrap their arms around. They're so bound up in the shoulders, right? So this one for me, my right side post delt is really limber. Like it takes a lot to get that stretch, but it's feeding up all through this back quadrant of my arm. Okay. It feels fantastic. For people who sleep on their arms, I was thinking about this the other day. So if you can get into the next phase, if this isn't enough for you, or even if this feels good, but you want to actually take it a little bit deeper, your palms are facing you. Okay. And then the arm that's getting the stretch is going to try to wrap around the back side of the other arm. And once it does that, then turn both hands. Well, all you have to do is turn the bottom hand in to meet the other hand. So it's palm to palm. That's really tricky. It's tricky to get that information out. So now here you go. If your fingers are interlaced, you can lift up, you can pull down, and just hanging on to this. If you are a side sleeper, I want you to think about all of the angles that you're putting your body in when you sleep on your side. I am a side sleeper. Release and relax. Whew. Release and relax. Okay. We did this one last week as well. It's your praying pose, right? Up, invert the fingers. They don't have to go all the way together, right? Just walk around your space a little bit. We are going to incorporate this with that little hamstring stretch that I love to do. Okay. So whether or not you can get your fingers higher, right? You actually want to connect the thumb with the other, right? Or I should say the pinky with the other pinky, the ring finger, the third finger, the index finger, if you can, but you don't have to work high. I mean, for people who are really flexible, they practically get their fingers all the way up towards their cervical spine. So just showing you that though I can get my fingers together and I can get my palms pushed in and I can get my thumbs crossed, my wrists, it's the wrist that's the limiting factor, not the shoulder for me. So you figure out where is the height that you're able to get your hands. Stand on your space. Looking down at your feet, you have your heels together and the toes flared out. And then let's take one foot, put it right in the arch of the other foot. And that foot is pointed straight ahead. And you're going to just start working that foot forward. Doesn't have to go far. And now take your body, square yourself up to the foot. As soon as you twist your shoulders and hips to point forward, you should feel your back leg bun fire up. And now look at your toes, look at your knee, as if someone's got the top of your head and they're pulling your head forward, which keeps your back flat. You're laying it out. You'll get to a certain point where if your spine isn't rounded, if you're rounded, you're not going to get very far. So we want to lengthen and push into the position. Your hamstring should already be giving you some, oh, I'm awake. Maybe it's even your calf. And now you're looking down. Bend your front leg, really bend it. And as you bend it, you'll be able to get yourself thigh and chest kind of moving towards one another. And now we don't have to worry about our flat back anymore. So at some point, you're as far forward as you can get. You're looking at your knee. You're going to tuck your chin and you're going to try to put your forehead close to the knee. The closer your forehead gets to the knee, the harder it will be to balance. Now, keep the sandwich action between your abs and your thigh and just try to lengthen your spine without pulling your trunk up off of your thigh. Whew. Ready? So your back is nice and neutral. Start raising your spine up in one long piece, straightening the front leg. You can push back to get the feet back together or just step forward and walk out of it. I'm going to push back. Okay. Look down at your feet. I know you're ready to get out of this, but you have to do the other leg. Switch the thumb crisscross. Okay, ready? Let's take the other foot. The other foot points forward and it lines up right in the middle of the instep. Step, 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 step. One more step. Okay. Spread your toes. Get the leg pointed straight ahead. Take your hips and shoulders. Work yourself forward. Pull the front of your shoulders back. Extension through that spine, and everything is floating forward. You're going to look at your foot and look at your knee, and you're going to tell your body, come forward, and then you will find a natural stop point, and then you'll bend your leg. And as you bend your leg, your body gets to come down deeper. And maybe you reach a point where you're like, I can't go any deeper. That's your stop point for you. I can go deeper. So I'm going to keep bending my leg more, and I'm going to get my body sandwiched down here. So my trunk, so my abs are resting right on my thigh. And then I'm going to tuck my chin and I'm going to put my forehead on my knee. That's it. And then the head goes back to its nice long neck position. Shoulders pull back. Get your spine back into that long, lengthened position. Pull the shoulders up. Get ready. You decide, do you want to just walk forward and step out of it, or do you want to power push back? And now, as you release your arms, oh, that had to have been at least 3 to 5 minutes. Static hold. The arms were in static hold. If you're feeling like a whole lot of tension around those wrists, it's to be expected. Maybe you have to put your own hand, right, and just kind of squeeze and work the life back into it. Through all of the stuff that we do with our hands and our body kind of in a fixed forward position. I mean, it doesn't have to be computer work. Just think about everything: folding laundry, loading the dishes, cooking, washing, like everything has us into this closed front body line. So then when we take ourselves and we open and turn and expand, like Why is that so hard? Because so many of our life patterns have us doing like strange forward fixed position. And getting to my point, we're going to do one last stretch and stop about sleeping. Think about how you sleep. Generally, if your legs are tucked up and your arms are like bent, and you might even find that your fingers like are like curled into each other, it's no wonder why it's so hard for our bodies to open up. Because even when we sleep, we're in this like tucked in position. So, breath, we're going to do 5 deep breaths, but not our traditional breaths. Okay. You're going to go fingers interlaced, close, let your knuckles draw right up under the jawline. Big toe edges together, a little space at the heels. Squeeze your belly to spine. Lift the elbows. We did this last week too, okay? Gently the knuckles drive the chin up, close the gap between your elbows, exhaling, pulling your middle body in, tightening the quads, squeezing the buns, lift the elbows and breathe. It just feels good for me to kind of rock a little bit from side to side. And then I squeeze it all. The head floats back. My knuckles are gently driving my jawline a little bit higher, so my neck is getting a nice extension. Release, breathe in. Maybe you want to raise up to your tiptoes. Squeeze your buns. Bring it all down. Float the jaw up. Elbows to touch. Squeeze through the middle body. 2 more. Squeeze your parts. Finish strong. Slide the shoulders out of the ears. Last one. If when you float your head back, you feel like you're pinching your neck and it doesn't feel good, that's because you haven't pulled your shoulders out of your ears and there's no space for your neck to go where it's supposed to go. And now, releasing arms, lift them up. Let your body relax. I love finishing on the feet because now you're just ready to move about your day. And I hope you guys have like an awesome day ahead for yourself, even if it's not anything that you have specially planned.